after multiplying, or after adding and subtracting integers rather, we need to multiply and divide. Now there are some important rules that you need to make sure you follow. So looking at these rules, multiplying and dividing, they're the same rule for both. Okay, so if I take a look at these first two, positive times a positive, I know that I'm automatically going to have a positive answer. All right, so same thing with dividing. I'm going to get a positive answer. The next two are trickier because I have one positive and one negative for both multiplying and dividing. Well, if I think about if I have a happy person and then I bring in a negative person, negative people bring you down. Okay, so positive times a negative or positive divided by a negative ends up with a negative answer. All right, and then the last rule for multiplying and dividing, all right, when we have two negatives together. So two negative people, they're both miserable, so they're happy together. So you will end up with a positive answer. All right, and so these rules are going to be extremely important to remember when you get into solving these integers. Another thing you can think about is a blank number of negatives makes the product or quotient negative. Well, that's odd. So if I have one negative number, or I have three negative numbers, or five negative numbers, and I'm multiplying all of them together, I'm going to get a negative answer. So an even number of negatives makes a product or quotient positive. So if I had two or four negatives that I'm multiplying together, you can get a positive answer. Now, multiplication problems can be written using just parentheses. All right, so what you're going to see, and if you take a look at our examples, is I have a parenthesis negative 2. Well, you have to think that there is multiplication between the 8 and the parenthesis. So a positive times a negative, I know I'm going to get a negative answer, and then 16 is my answer. Two negatives, I know I'm going to have a positive answer for 27. Then I have two negatives, so I know I'm going to have positive. 1 times 8 is 8, times 4 is 32. And that's how I go about solving multiplication problems. Take a look at how many negatives you have and determine whether your answer will be positive or negative. Then go ahead and do the multiplication. So some more here. Two negatives, I know I'm going to have a positive answer, and positive 30 is the correct answer. This is supposed to be absolute value. So really I have 2 times negative 13. So I know I'm going to have negative, and 26 is going to be my answer. So exponent, we haven't talked about this yet, but this is really written as 7 squared like this. So it's 7 times 7, which is both positive, so I know I'm going to have positive 49. And then the next one, remember, because it's multiplication, I can do it in any order that I want, and I see that I have one negative, so it's going to be a negative answer. I'm going to do 4 times 3, which is 12, times 7, which is going to end up being then 84. All right, so negative 84 ends up being the final answer. So Mr. Simon's bank account automatically deducts a $4 monthly maintenance fee on his savings account. Write a multiplication expression to express the fees for 1 year. This is going to be some important information. Then find the product and explain its meaning. So if I need to write an expression, meaning I'm going to say, well, deducts $4. That's negative 4. And there are 12 months in the year. So I'm going to do negative 4 times 12. This is my expression, which then equals negative $48. And then I need to explain what this means. So it would mean that he is going to lose $48 out of his bank account every single year. So going on to the next piece, dividing with integers, we need to make sure that, again, we're following the correct rules. Positive and negative, I know I'm going to get a negative answer. And then 25 divided by 5 is 5. Negative, negative means I'm going to have a positive answer. So negative 72 divided by negative 9, well, that ends up being positive 8. Negative, positive, I know I'm going to have a negative. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then lastly, 150 divided by negative 25 ends up being negative, and then negative 6 is my final answer. All right. Easy way to do the 25 and the 150 is think about it as a quarter and $1.50. That will be able, or that would allow you to be able to do that in your head. And then the last part here, writing a division expression. The average temperature in January for North Pole, Alaska is negative 24 degrees Celsius. Use the expression 9C plus 160, so 9C plus 160 divided by 5, to find this temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. Round to the nearest degree, then explain its meaning. Well, so when I'm given something like this, the C is what I'm going to put 24. So I really have 9 or parentheses negative 24 plus 160 divided by 5. So if I did 9 times 24, so I have negative 216 plus 160, and then divide that by 5. So this ends up being negative 56 divided by 5. And so it says round to the nearest degree, then explain its meaning. Well, if I were to divide this, I know that negative 11 is going to be the closest thing to it, degrees Fahrenheit. So that's my answer. Now I need to explain its meaning. So you could say North Pole, Alaska has an average temperature of negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. So make sure that when you multiply and divide, follow these rules very carefully. That can be the difference in right or wrong answers.